If you're not training in the 4 to 8 rep range, you are limiting your muscle growth potential. But don't 5 to 30 reps all yield the same results when taken to failure? No, they do not. And here's why. High reps literally prevent you from actually reaching or getting close to true muscular failure. And as we know, getting close to or actually reaching muscular failure is pretty fucking important. The stimulating reps model states that the last 5 reps of a given set gives you the most important and biggest stimulus out of the whole set. But why do high reps limit your ability to reach muscular failure? You need to know that your muscles are not actually incapable of or are actually failing when you get close to failure, but it is your maximum tolerable perception of effort which limits your ability to recruit maximum motor unit recruitment, which means that your body is essentially holding you back from going balls to the walls, ripping off your fucking muscle from your bone, and this maximum tolerable perception of effort gets dictated by 3 main factors. First being your cardiovascular demand, essentially how out of breath you are within a set. The second one being lactate buildup, how freaking crazy the pump is during a set. And third, tiredness, essentially how cooked you feel during the set. Just try and compare a 4 rep squat to a 20 rep squat and you will notice a big difference between the maximum tolerable perception of effort between these 2 individual rep ranges. You will be completely cooked and out of the game for the rest of the fucking session after a 20 rep squat. And you will barely notice anything in comparison after a 4 rep squat. High reps create much more CNS fatigue and muscle damage, which not only worsens your ability to have a completely productive session from exercise 1 up until the last exercise, but it also worsens your recovery post-workout, just like a bunch of sets and junk volume would, resulting in worse progressive overload and therefore muscle growth from session to session. For example, just 1 set of 12 reps to 2 reps in reserve, and keeping reps in reserve we know is very recovery friendly, is more demanding on the body, worsens your recovery and builds up more fatigue than 3 fucking sets of 4 reps to failure. So 1 set to 12 reps creates more fatigue than 3 sets of 4, but you actually have to match the stimulus of the 3 sets of 4 by doing 2 additional sets, which would essentially accumulate 9 sets worth of stimulus. The reason why high reps create more muscle damage is because of calcium ion related fatigue, which gets built up in your bloodstream by doing long sets while doing high reps, which means the longer your muscles are contracting without any rest, you will create more calcium ion and therefore create more muscle damage. Now, this muscle damage that was created while doing high rep sets therefore causes an inflammatory response in your body, which essentially creates more unnecessary CNS fatigue, generating a feeling of tiredness not only within the session but throughout the whole week, which again impacts your recovery from workout to workout, therefore reducing your ability to progressive overload and build muscle. Of course, there are also other factors which determine how much muscle damage and CNS fatigue you will generate. For example, total volume in a session and also the intensity you're training at. But rep ranges, just as volume, is one of, if not the biggest contributor to accumulating junk volume and unnecessary fatigue. And just to make it sure, it's not a matter of just being scared of fatigue just for the sake of it, but as I said, fatigue actually limits your ability to build maximum amounts of muscle, and you can bet my ass on the fact that if fatigue would equal more muscle growth, I would be so fucking happy to walk around like a fucking zombie, being lifeless due to the amounts of junk volume and junk fatigue I've built up, but that is simply not how the body works. Fatigue is not there to make a bitch out of you, but just to train a bit smarter and build more muscle that way, okay? Now coming back to the stimulating reps model, which states that the last 5 reps of a given set are the most important. If you perform a 15 rep set, what exactly do those first 10 reps accomplish? You're essentially performing a whole ass warm-up set of 10 reps within your actual working set. Now compare that to a low rep, heavy ass weight set of, let's say, 4 to 6 reps. The effective last 5 reps of a given set start fucking immediately. You're not accumulating any junk volume, you're not accumulating any unnecessary fatigue, you're getting straight to fucking work. And on top of that, this is not confirmed by any study, but just by using the mechanisms and some logic to my advantage. So here's a hypothesis, I don't know. Not every set within a workout gives you exactly 5 stimulating reps. If that would be the case, that would essentially mean that the first set of a given workout and the 100 set would give you the same stimulus, as every set gives you 5 stimulating reps, right? But we simply know that that is not true, as fatigue still exists. So what I'm trying to get at is that the first few sets of a given workout may potentially give you 5 stimulating reps, but in the middle of the workout, you will not get those 5 same reps. You may get 3 or 4 stimulating reps due to the fatigue buildup, and near the end of the workout, where you're fucking cooked already, you may only get 2 to 3 stimulating reps. And this just further supports the notion that a 4 to 6 rep set, even if you keep some reps in reserve, so you will essentially not be getting 5 reps on every single set, will give you all the stimulus that you could have gotten, as you cannot get all 5 stimulating reps throughout the entire workout. Of course, I wouldn't take this to the extreme and say that, okay, I'll do a 2 to 3 rep set because why the fuck should I do more? I cannot get those 5 last reps. That would be stupid. Just stick to 4 to 8 reps in general, okay? So we all know that training hard is important if you want to build muscle, but training unnecessarily too hard is also counterproductive if you want to actually build maximum amounts of muscle. Training to absolute muscular failure all the fucking time will build so much unnecessary fatigue while not giving you any more meaningful stimulus compared to 2 to 0 reps in reserve. And no, I'm not saying 2 reps in reserve training is necessary. I would always recommend to train to 0 to 1 rep in reserve. Essentially, training to muscular failure with very clean technique and not doing any partial reps or whatever the fuck some influencer is preaching. But the thing is with high reps is that it forces you to actually train to muscular failure on every single set. As I said in the beginning of the video, your maximum tolerable perception of effort limits your ability to actually reach that muscular failure on a high rep set. So you have to push yourself even further than you should need to, as you're already being limited by the mechanisms of your body, which creates even more fatigue without giving you any meaningful stimulus in return. Now, if you perform low rep sets with heavy weights, you can absolutely keep 2 to 0 reps in reserve, as you are not being limited by maximum tolerable perception of effort, as the reps in reserve you're actually training at, or how hard you're training at, is essentially correlated how much force your muscles can actually produce, as you're not being limited by your breath, by the lactate buildup or the burn your muscle, by tiredness. The weight may feel heavy, but the set is honest to God. If you cannot do more, you could not do more. On the other hand, if you perform a bunch of reps within the set, you will get a crazy fucking burn, which alone, without taking any other factor into calculation, will absolutely limit you to push yourself further than you could have. It is much more mentally taxing. You have to push yourself much further. You have to listen to Tom Platt's motivational fucking sounds in the background, so you can push yourself to a 20 rep whatever the fuck set.
If you want something bad enough, you can't let anybody tell you you can't do something, not even yourself.
Which is simply not the case if you just perform low reps with heavy weights. The conclusion up until now, even if the video is not done yet, I will get into more sort of practical stuff, like what beginners should do, the use cases of high reps, etc. But high reps with light weight gives you worse stimulus with more fatigue, while low reps with heavy weights gives you a better stimulus and much less fatigue. If you want to be as efficient as possible with your training or achieve maximum amounts of muscle growth, please do me a favor, stop watching YouTube and check out my one-to-one online coaching service, and check out this video on my website if you want to get into more detail on what you will be getting. The links are in the description and comments down below. See you soon, brother. Bye. The first myth is that for smaller muscle groups or isolation movements, higher reps are simply better. Every single muscle group in your body responds to the same type of stimulus. It doesn't matter whether you're performing a compound, an isolation, whether it's a big or small muscle group. You will not gain any more muscle on your smaller muscle groups if you perform isolation movements with higher reps just for the cause of it. Just like in a heavy compound like a bench press, deadlift, squat, whatever, you can perform a heavy set of 4 to 6 reps on a fucking preacher curl, a lateral raise, whatever the fuck. You will still build muscle and even more muscle due to the bunch of factors I've mentioned in this video if you do that. A side note, contrary to popular belief, smaller muscle groups, not generally, but for some exception, like the biceps and triceps, are one of, if not the most susceptible muscle groups to muscle damage and fatigue, which means that you want to minimize muscle damage and fatigue by performing low rep sets with heavy weights to improve the recovery from workout to workout, so you can train them more often, harder, etc., and build more muscle. You get the idea, huh? Of course, the practical application bros will be mad at me for saying that, but you can absolutely perform a clean fucking set on lateral rolls, on push downs, on bicep curls, even if you perform a 4 to 6 rep with heavy fucking weight. And if you cannot, first of all, drop the ego and drop the weight. You have maybe overestimated yourself and put on more weight on the exercise than you could have performed with clean reps on a 4 to 6 rep set. And second of all, maybe pick a more stable variation. For example, on a dumbbell lateral raise or a dumbbell curl, you will most likely swing a bit due to just how gravity works and the lever just being in front of you and your body having to compensate to stabilize. Now compare that to a locked-in lateral raise machine or a cable single arm lateral raise where you're more stable, or a preacher curl where you're absolutely locked into the movement. You can absolutely perform those exercises with heavy weight without even needing a second fucking thought on what the fuck you're doing. And yes, you can absolutely perform a 4 rep set on a preacher curl and you will not tear your shit up. First of all, again, drop the fucking ego, take weight you can actually control throughout the entire fucking range of motion and slowly adjust to the lower rep range and don't jump from 50 fucking reps to 4 reps out of nowhere. Of course you will fucking tear your shit up that way. Tendons adapt best to heavy weight training. If you perform a 12, 15, 20 rep set, why the fuck should your body adapt to that? That is not heavy, you simply get a pump and the body and evolution is not saying, okay, I got a pump bro, let's fucking adapt with some stronger tendons because we have to survive. Your body will absolutely adapt with stronger tendons, with stronger ligaments if you train with heavy ass weights, as it fucking has to survive. And if you're a natural, you're slowly adjusting to the heavier weight, you're actually using the weight you can perform with clean form and you're not fucking ego lifting, you should have no fear to tear anything up, as the probability that you will injure yourself is pretty fucking low, as your tendons, ligaments, structures adapt almost as fast as your muscle, especially if you're training with heavy weights, as they will adapt even better, as I said. Now compared to a steroid abuser who will build crazy amounts of muscle much faster than any natty would ever dream of. Their tendons and ligaments are so far behind, they're still on natty status, which means that they simply cannot withstand the amount of force that the muscle can produce when you're training with heavy weight in low rep ranges, as the amount of force that gets produced is much higher on a low weight, high rep set, which increases the risk of injury for steroid abusers massively. But even then, if you acclimate to it slowly, use sensible form, nothing will happen if you're a bit smart, at least. Now coming to the use cases of high reps. Are there any, or is it completely unnecessary? Let's look into it. For beginners, of course, don't just completely jump straight into 4 to 6 reps. If you have been laying on your fucking ass your whole goddamn life, playing Fortnite or whatever, the risk of injury is pretty fucking high, as your form will look like shit and your structures are just not used to that heavy weight and you may injure yourself because you don't know what the fuck you're doing. I would advise you to acclimate to it slowly, maybe stick in the 6 to 10 rep range, maybe even 8 to 10 and work yourself down. 8 to 10 for a few weeks, then 6 to 8 for a few weeks, then 4 to 6. Just see how your body feels and get to it, okay? And of course, you don't want to ingrain those bad habits of having shitty fucking form. So with a bit higher reps, it is much easier, you have more leeway to have cleaner form, which will allow you to train with heavier weights along the line with clean form, as you've ingrained that habit into your fucking body. Enjoyment. Did you know that if you don't enjoy something, whether it's an exercise, rep range, split, whatever, it can actually inhibit you from reaching maximum amounts of motor unit recruitment and therefore muscle activation, training as hard as fucking possible. If you absolutely hate lifting heavy, if you want that fucking pump, if you're that compound versus isolation guy, you need heavy weights on compounds, you need isolations with high reps for whatever fucking reason it is. If you truly despise it, like really despise it, and you could not get yourself to training with heavy weights, then don't fucking do it. But please don't go out there and say that you do it because it is better. If it's better for you because of enjoyment, brother, is not a fucking factor for judging or spreading info on what is the best way to train. But again, enjoyment is important and just do whatever the fuck you enjoy, okay? I enjoy progress, so I do whatever it takes to get maximum amounts of progress. And besides that, I fucking love lifting heavy, so it goes hand in hand.